Welcome. What I want to do is show you how to find the midpoints of these two coordinate points. So to do that, what we're going to use is the midpoint formula, right? Kind of seems pretty obvious. So the midpoint formula says that if you take any 2 points, x2 plus x1 and y2 plus y1, if you take any 2 points, you can find the midpoint of them by adding up the x coordinates and dividing by 2. We'll find the middle of those 2 coordinates. And then if you add up your you add up your 2 y coordinates and divide by 2, you'll be able to find the middle or the midpoint of those 2 coordinates. Combining those 2 points together, those 2 middle points, creates our midpoint. And we call that a midpoint because what we have here is a line segment. If we were to connect these 2 points, these would be the endpoints, and the point that'd be on that line, but in the middle of those 2 points, is our midpoint. So now what we're going to do is I labeled x1 and x2 just because we need to label one to be x1 and one to be x2. It doesn't matter which one you label as x1, x2. You just need to understand that your first point, your first coordinate is always your x value, and your second point or second coordinate is always your y coordinate. So what I'm going to do now is just plug in the x and y coordinates. So I'll say m, which is my midpoint, is equal to x2, which is a negative 7.5, plus a negative 11.07, all divided by 2, comma, y2, which is a negative 0.1. I should put this in parentheses better. Okay, no, there we go. Negative 0.1 plus a negative 10 divided by 2. Now, you might be asking, why are you using so many parentheses, right? Well, I'm using so many parentheses because I've seen over and over and over students making the mistake. Please take whatever number you're evaluating, you're plugging in, and put that in parentheses. We can work around the operations later. So what I have is a negative number plus a negative number, which I know is going to give me a negative number. But sometimes if you want to put the parentheses, some students might have left out the addition sign and would have done subtraction, and then the whole problem would have gone wrong. So I'm just going to use a nice little calculator and do negative 7.5 plus a negative 11.07. Well, you should know the answer here. If you can just add them up right there, it's negative 18.57 divided by 2. To make sure I didn't do any mental math, got it right. Here, you can do the same thing. Just plug in your calculator, or you can also see negative 0.1 plus negative 10.1. Well, that's just going to be a negative 10.1 divided by 2. All right? So now I need to divide both of these numbers by 2. And you could do this in your head as well. Or you can just double check in your calculator to make sure that you have all the math correct. So for this one, for a negative 18.57 divided by 2, I get a negative 9.285, comma, negative 10.1 divided by 2 equals a negative 5.05. And there you go. That is now going to be your midpoint between these 2 endpoints. Thanks.